Thank you, Richard. Well, I feel it's a great honour to be asked tonight to induct yet another worthy name into the ARIA Hall of Fame. Over the last 4 years, there have been some illustrious Australian artists with very diverse musical styles that have been honoured with this award, from Billy Thorpe to Slim Dusty, to Sherbet, to Dame Joan Sutherland, and to AC/DC, to Dame Nellie Melba. So, the honour tonight goes to a group that I first saw back in 1973 in a very small club in Melbourne. They actually blew my mind apart that night that I saw them, and the following week I encouraged a young Michael Gudinski to come along too and check them out. He was impressed that night as well, and I said to him, "You should sign them up to your new label, mate," and he didn't need any persuasion. In early 1974, this group played at Sunbury, and the crowd absolutely loved them. Then the shock hit because their former lead singer, Steve Hill, quit the group. And then came along a loud-mouthed Surfy from Waverley, and there was Skyhooks. I thought the guy was fantastic. He was loud, but he was great. Later that year, they released an album called Living in the 70s, and it was a fantastic album. And along with AC/DC's album, they broke new ground in record sales in this country, because up until then, major acts in this country were lucky if they sold 40,000 for an album. We were now talking about 200 to 250,000 albums. Living in the 70s, what an album that was. Tracks like Borwin Calling, Lygon Street, Toorak Cowboy, Horror Movie, although with Horror Movie we've gone through the horror with them almost for 18 years, and Smut. Smut. What a dreadful, shut up, Red. What a dreadful song. Obviously written, the only song written ever by Red Simons. After that, through the growth of Countdown as well, this group just kept coming with hit after hit after hit. $1 Million Riff. Well, a lot of people took notice of that. Alan Bond, Skase, they were singing it right into the 80s, I tell you right now. And then there was a song that I really related to, one that I absolutely loved. You Just Like Me Because I'm Good in Bed. And every day, every time the Skyhooks were here in this city, I'd go to the stadiums like a demented group and go, yo, yo, like that. They were fantastic. Then another shock hit. All My Friends Are Getting Married. And they got married, and they left me like a shag on a rock. I was now like a deserted groupie. Then there was Woman in Uniform. And I guess a lot of people were influenced by that, some that I can see here. And then the track of all tracks, Ego Is Not a Dirty Word. And thank Christ it isn't a dirty word, because I tell you what, a lot of you would be in trouble. They had a rest, they took us into the 80s, and then they had a spell. But no, Skyhooks weren't going to lie down. In 1990, they came back, sell out right across the country, and had a #1 single with Jukebox in Siberia. Let's have a look and pay tribute to Skyhooks, one of the great groups of this country. All right. Would you please welcome clothes designer extraordinaire, Freddie Strauchs, Ronnie Biggs' best mate, Bob Starkey, the consummate songwriter, Greg McCainch, and those two, Red and Shirley. Well done.
I think first of all I'd like to thank Molly for not sleeping with any of us. Basically what got us through this thing, I think. There's somebody else I'd like to thank. There's a 6th member of Skyhooks. Love him or hate him, he's done a lot for rock and roll in this country. He's been awarded tonight with an award already for his services. I'm talking about Michael Gudinski. And it sort of brought back memories. I saw Michael shed a little tear when he was up here before, and he was doing his little speech. The last time I saw Michael cry was when he's trying to manage us.
I can remember when we first rehearsed the song Living in the 70s, we were in Bob Starkey's lounge room in River Street, South Yarra, and that was in early 1974, and none of us had any idea that 18 years later we'd be still together, having fun, arguing, etc. And there's a few people that I'd like to thank from that period who made it all possible, and they were our producer Ross Wilson, Michael Gudinski and Ray Evans for bankrolling the project when, in the days when royalties weren't recoupable. And the guy who gave us a gig at that club that Molly saw us at, that was Adrian Barker, Frank Stavala for booking us, all the road crew we ever had, and there's a few guys who used to play in the band who didn't last the distance, and they were people like Peter Starkey, Steve Hill, Peter Inglis, Bob Spencer and Tony Williams. And more recently, I've got to thank Ross Fraser for producing Jukebox in Siberia, and Warren from Mushroom, and also everyone that toured with us in 1991, and especially my wife for putting up with me during that tour. And I think the last word has to go to Mr. Simons.
The Australian Record Industry Hall of Fame, Red Simons, March the 6th, 1992. About bloody time.
I'd like to thank Greg McCaish for the gig.
Thanks to everybody who supported us over the years. It's been a privilege being in the music industry. Thank you.